Welcome to the Binge List. I'm your host, Paul Chappell, and today we are covering Hunters, an Amazon original for those on Amazon Prime. I have to say, guys, right off the bat, I didn't know what to think about this series. There was so much that was good, and there was so much that was horrible about this series. And I have to say, this is one of those series that should have ended after 8 episodes. Because by the 10th episode, I was just leaning back in my chair. Will you just end already? It's one of those shows where everything interesting has happened by the episode. And they're only making it 10 episodes because I'm pretty sure that the people at Amazon wanted it that way. And I usually do a list of these things I don't like and things I do like. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that even the stuff I did like was clouded by something equally bad. So I hope I have been able to clarify that in this review. Let me go to the first thing that I really had a problem with, and that was the fact that the lead character, played by Logan Lerman, was bland. Very bland. A bowl of popcorn with no salt and butter bland. This kid was just bland. And I feel like the only reason he was chosen is because, one, he is actually Jewish in real life. But two, he just looks like a regular white kid. And I think they casted him on purpose because everybody wants that demographic, that young white male demographic. So they went with this kid rather than somebody like Josh Radnor of How I Met Your Mother fame. They went with this kid rather than him because he can just get that younger demographic that everybody wants. Although Josh Radnor was a lot more entertaining as a character. He plays this former Broadway actor, Hollywood guy, calls himself Lonnie Flash. Just hilarious, one of the best characters on the show. In fact, all the background characters, including Al Pacino, I might add, were much more interesting. In fact, I think that was part of the problem. This kid had to act opposite Al Pacino, and not bad Al Pacino, not the Al Pacino who shouts every other line. This is good Al Pacino, the Al Pacino in The Godfather, Al Pacino. In fact, he was kind of like a Jewish Michael Corleone in this show. I really liked his. I don't know why he decided to be on this show ultimately, because, like I said, there were just so many problems I had with it. My second thing I didn't like about it was the tone. The tone was just terrible. They would go from a flashback. A scene in the Holocaust at Auschwitz or some other Nazi extermination camp, concentration camp. And then they would cut to the main character smoking weed with his friends and having hallucinations and just having a little dance number. It was that kind of show. And I was just like, what is going on here? Is this the same show? I mean, you can't go from the Holocaust to a dance number. It just doesn't work unless you're doing Springtime for Hitler or whatever, that little musical number they had in that the producer. But that was supposed to be funny. Okay? The Holocaust scenes in this show were not supposed to be funny, or I don't think they were. There was even a point where they kind of juiced up some of the scenes in the Holocaust. And by juiced up, I mean they made it more cinematic, let's just say. There's a scene where the Nazi guards are torturing these Jewish prisoners on a chess board that they've built on the grounds. So, for instance, if your pawn takes a knight or whatever, the actual prisoner will have to cut the throat of the person that they just took out of the game. It had that kind of inventiveness. I'm making up words. but it was that inventive with the Holocaust, and I just felt like on some level that wasn't appropriate. And I think I've just skimmed a few other reviews, and I think other people had the same problem with this show. But I have to say again, the first 5 episodes of this show were excellent, and I was just totally blown away by the premise. The premise that there are Nazi hunters hunting these Nazis who were brought over by the United States after World War II. And this is real. This really happened. This is part of history. I think the show actually happens in 1977. So I think at the time, Operation Paperclip was still unknown thing. But in present day, we know this has been declassified. There was an Operation Paperclip that brought thousands of Nazi scientists over to the United States and kind of just erased their past. The most popular being Werner von Braun, who helped the astronauts land on the moon. He was the Nazi rocket scientist that invented the V-2 rocket. So that was all true. And this show relied on those true elements while mixing them with some untrue elements like the said chess piece game at Auschwitz. Okay. My fear about that is that people will see this show knowing that that scene was totally fictional and confuse it with very real things like Operation Paperclip. So that there's a danger there. Because we already have problems with Holocaust deniers. And I don't really see how that show, this show helps in that regard. I think we're asking for a lot of trouble. But one of the other disturbing things I felt about the show was that torture was used almost universally whenever they did capture a Nazi. And now, normally, I wouldn't have a problem with that. You take some person who's responsible for the deaths of thousands and thousands of Jews and are being protected by the American government. Yeah, I don't have a problem with those people being tortured. But, and here's the big but. In many of these scenes, if not most of the scenes, they were trying to extract information out of the captives. And now what we know from torture is that it's not a reliable way to interrogate someone. A person will tell you whatever you want to hear, even a falsehood, just to make the torture stop. We know that for a fact. That came out during our torture of terrorists during the wars that followed the 9/11 attacks. So I was kind of disturbed by that. And that's not to say that they didn't have some real investigating in the show. The characters do go through some scenes where they have to figure out things on their own. They were excellently done. It was real. That's the big thing about this show that disturbed me. So much of it was well written. I would say about all of it was well written, but I feel like they made some choices that just didn't mesh well together. Taken on their own, those choices would have been fine if they kept them separate, like the aforementioned Holocaust scenes. If it was another show just dealing with the Holocaust, they would have been fine, I think. But when it just mashed together with this espionage / adventure show, it just didn't work. And that's to say also, the show had the worst twist ending of all time. And I mean, when I say the worst, I mean dumb. It was so freaking dumb and unnecessary, the twist that they saved for that 10th episode, which shouldn't have happened in the first place. I mean, I can't get over how dumb it was. And by the last scene of this show, my mouth was just agape, just staring into oblivion of what could have been, a great show. I just couldn't believe they ended this show the way they did. It's like they took every conspiracy theory about the Holocaust and Nazi war criminals and just put them in a blender. They threw everything, including the stupid stuff you hear about what happened with some of the Nazi war criminals who went to places like Argentina. So, oh man, I guess is what I'm saying is I don't give this show a recommend, but if you have to watch it, if hunting Nazis is your thing, and I know people who would love this show for that reason alone. All you have to do is say it's a show about Nazi hunters, and they're there. If you have to see the show, I recommend that you watch the first 5 episodes, because by episode 6, it just goes off the rail. And it continues to go off the rail. But there was a lot of good things I liked about the show. I liked the nun, the character that dressed like a nun for no reason, because they never established that she was actually a nun, just that she had been raised in a Catholic school. But she used to be part of MI6, and she was a badass. I love that character. I love, like I said, I already mentioned Josh Radnor as this former Hollywood actor who's in on the hunt. There's another chick called Roxy Jones. She seemed like she should have been in a blaxploitation film in the 70s. Big afro and everything. Very interesting. But they didn't do a lot with her, I have to admit. And her specialty, because everybody has a specialty in this group, her specialty is, get this, that's right, opening locks is her specialty. A black woman who's very good at breaking into houses. I won't say it was racist, though. I won't say it was a stereotype necessarily, because they did have some other character. They did have another black actor. They had no black males for some reason. They did have some black males in some bit roles, but not in the main cast, which I thought was, how can you have 2 black females and no black males? Kind of weird. But there was a character playing an FBI agent, Jerrica Hinton, playing a character called Millie Morris. She was playing the FBI agent. She's a very good character. So there's that. We had some great character actors, Carol Kane and Saul Rubinek, playing 2 former refugees from concentration camps. They're playing a character called Mindy Markowitz and Murray Markowitz. They were great. I've seen them in other stuff. But there was a lot of great, and there was another Vietnam vet character played by Louis Ozawa, played a character called Joe Mishashima. But and the great character playing the nun, her name was Sister Harriet, played by actor named Kate Mulvaney. Also excellent. All these people were excellent. But for every character that was excellent, there was a Nazi. It seemed like they had a Nazi equivalent that was, they tried to make just as interesting as those main characters. And I didn't think it worked very well. There was a character played by Dylan Baker called Biff Simpson. And I don't even know why he was in the show. He's responsible for one of the most despicable acts in the opening of the show. And yet they play it up like he's supposed to be this lovable screwball Nazi character, which, like I said, once again, did not make a bit of sense when you consider tone. So there's a lot. What I guess I'm saying about this is there was a lot to like about this show, but there was equally as much to hate about the show. And as a result, I can't recommend it. Like I said, if you want to watch it, go ahead, watch those first 5 episodes and come into your own mind what a fitting conclusion would be. But if you watch it that far, you're probably going to watch the whole thing. I know that. And there's nothing I can do about that except to say it's a very mixed bag. And I hate to see that because, like I said, it's produced by Jordan Peele. And I really wanted to succeed just from that merit alone. But that's all I got for today. I'd like to thank my subscribers and encourage you to subscribe if you haven't already. And hit that bell so you know when another video drops. And until next time, I will see you when I see you. Thanks for watching.